The 25 best Nintendo Switch 2 games for families are all right here. Every single one is out and ready to play today. Kicking off the list at number 1 is Mario Kart World, the biggest and most ambitious entry in the franchise ever released, and the clearest reason to own a Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo reimagined the series from the ground up with an open-world racing structure, wall riding mechanics, rail grinding, and a new knockout mode that strings multiple courses into a single extended competitive run. The roster is enormous, spanning beloved Nintendo characters alongside unexpected additions that give the game a playful and endlessly surprising personality. The local multiplayer works beautifully for families with children of all ages, since the 50cc speed setting is accessible to the very youngest players, while higher speeds push experienced racers to their limit. Post-launch updates continue to add content regularly. Number 2 on this list is Donkey Kong Bananza, and it is the first fully three-dimensional Donkey Kong platformer in over 2 decades. Nintendo built this game around a destruction mechanic that allows DK to punch, pull, and tear through nearly every surface in the environment, which gives the level design a creative freedom that most platformers never achieve. The companion character Pauline accompanies DK through most of the adventure, and her singing unlocks the Bananza powers that form the heart of the progression system. Each world carries a completely distinct visual identity, and the soundtrack is genuinely memorable throughout. It is the most technically impressive first-party exclusive on the Switch 2, outside of Mario Kart, and a clear must-play for any family with the console. At number 3, Super Mario Bros. Wonder is the most welcoming and immediately joyful co-op platformer on this list. Nintendo's return to traditional 2D Mario design introduces the Wonder Flower mechanic, which transforms each level in unpredictable and often hilarious ways mid-stage. One moment you are running through a standard platformer stage, the next, the entire level has become a musical sequence or flipped upside down. The multiplayer support allows up to 4 players locally, and the bubble mechanic ensures that younger players who fall behind can be rescued by their teammates, rather than sitting out at a loading screen. The difficulty curve is generous enough to welcome very young children while hiding enough challenge in its later stages to keep experienced players fully engaged. Pokemon Legends ZA lands at number 4 as the freshest and most fast-paced Pokemon experience on the Switch 2. Rather than building around the traditional catching loop, this entry places battles at the center of the experience, putting players through a tournament-style gauntlet of trainers as they fight their way through the ranks from Z to A. The setting is a reimagined urban Lumio City, and the pace of the game is notably quicker and more energetic than any mainline Pokemon release that preceded it. Families who found earlier Pokemon games too slow or unfocused will find this one immediately accessible and consistently rewarding across a campaign that holds the attention of both younger and older players throughout. Number 5 is Kirby Air Riders, a spiritual successor to the 2003 GameCube cult classic that brings the franchise's signature chaos and charm to the Switch 2. Designed by Masahiro Sakurai, the game uses a simplified one-button racing system that makes it immediately accessible for players of any age, while hiding layers of technique that reward extended practice. The visual presentation is colorful and energetic, and the roster of characters draws from the broader Nintendo universe in ways that will delight fans of multiple franchises. It is the closest thing to a new Smash Bros. Experience currently available on the platform in terms of tone and replayability, and it works exceptionally well as a competitive family game for sessions of any length. At number 6, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 Edition is one of the greatest games ever made, now running at a smooth and consistent frame rate for the first time. The upgrade significantly improves performance over the original Switch version, and the accompanying Zelda Notes app adds voice memories, a navigation tool, and item sharing features that extend the value of an already enormous game. The open-world structure of Hyrule, combined with the creative building and fusing mechanics, give players virtually unlimited ways to approach any given challenge, making it as engaging for curious younger players as it is for experienced adults. Families who want a single substantial adventure to share together will not find a better option on the platform. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Switch 2 Edition earns the 7th spot as the ideal starting point for families new to the Zelda series on the Switch 2. The enhanced version of the 2017 open-world landmark benefits from the same Zelda Notes integration as its sequel, adding voice memories and navigation tools that make the experience even more immersive than it was at launch. The climbing, cooking, and physics-based puzzle systems remain as innovative as they were when the game first released, and the sense of freedom the world provides is still unmatched in the action-adventure genre. For families where one member has already completed the game, the upgrade provides enough new content to justify a full revisit together.
Sackboy A Big Adventure comes in at number 8 as the most family-friendly local co-op platformer currently available on the Switch 2. Sony's knitted mascot brings his charming 3D platformer adventure to the platform, with support for up to 4 local players, a gentle difficulty curve, and a revival system that prevents any player from being left behind mid-level. The visual design is warm and handcrafted in its aesthetic, filled with colorful environments and music sync sections that younger players find particularly delightful. The game welcomes players of all skill levels without ever condescending to experienced players, and the DualSense haptics features are replaced on Switch 2 with controller rumble support that still adds a tactile dimension to the experience. Marvel Cosmic Invasion arrives at number 9 as the best superhero beat-em-up available on the Switch 2 for families with children who love Marvel characters. Developed by Tribute Games, this side-scrolling brawler allows players to fight through levels as iconic heroes, including Spider-Man, Captain America, and others, across a campaign built around cooperative play. The combat is accessible enough for younger players to grasp immediately, while offering enough depth in its combo and special move systems to keep older family members engaged across multiple runs. For households where Marvel is already a shared passion, this is the most immediately recognizable and crowd-pleasing cooperative action game available on the platform. Fantasy Life: The Girl Who Steals Time lands at number 10 as the most relaxing and content-rich RPG on this list for families who want a longer shared experience. This cozy adventure from Level 5 blends life simulation with action RPG elements, allowing players to take on different life classes, including farmer, cook, blacksmith, and adventurer, as they build relationships with the game's charming cast of characters. The Switch 2 version runs smoothly and looks beautiful in both handheld and docked modes, and the pace of the game is gentle enough to accommodate casual players who only want to check in for short sessions. It is one of the most welcoming RPGs available for families, where one member is less experienced with games than the other. Pokemon Pokopia earns the 11th spot as the freshest Nintendo release of 2026 and one of the most genuinely relaxing experiences currently available on the Switch 2. This cozy city builder set in a Pokemon world allows players to terraform landscapes, craft homes for Pokemon neighbors, and uncover a heartfelt story at their own pace without any time pressure or competitive elements. The building mechanics are impressively expansive, and the variety of Pokemon characters inhabiting the world gives the game a warmth and personality that makes extended sessions feel consistently rewarding. For families with younger children who love Pokemon but find battle-focused games too demanding, this is a perfect alternative. Hollow Knight's Silksong comes in at number 12 as the most accomplished and atmospheric indie platformer available on the Switch 2. Following Hornet, rather than the titular Hollow Knight from the first game, this sequel expands the scope and ambition of its predecessor across new biomes, enemies, and abilities that build into a deep and satisfying exploration loop. The art direction is strikingly beautiful, and the hand-animated combat gives every encounter a fluid and expressive quality that few games match. While the difficulty is higher than most other titles on this list, older children and parents who enjoy a challenge will find it one of the most rewarding experiences on the platform, particularly when played in handheld mode. At number 13, Hades 2 is the best roguelike available on the Switch 2, and one of the highest-rated games of 2025 across all platforms. Supergiant Games expanded the Greek mythology scope of its predecessor dramatically, following Melanoy through escalating runs that generate different boon and weapon combinations with each attempt. The narrative is delivered in fragments between runs, rather than forcing players to sit through cutscenes, which keeps the momentum of each session intact. The voice acting and art direction remain exceptional, and the depth of the build variety rewards players who invest dozens of hours into mastering its systems. For families with older children who enjoy games with real mechanical depth, this is an essential pick.
Overcooked All You Can Eat arrives at 14 as the most reliably chaotic and laugh-generating co-op game on this entire list. Bundling both Overcooked titles alongside all additional content, this edition gives families an enormous amount of kitchen stages, spread across increasingly absurd environments, including moving platforms, ghost ships, and lava floors. The communication required to keep orders moving and customers satisfied creates naturally funny moments of breakdown and recovery that work equally well for competitive and cooperative family gaming sessions. The session length per stage is short enough to fit into any schedule, and the visual style is bright and accessible for players of all ages and experience levels. It Takes Two lands at number 15 as the single best co-op narrative experience on the Switch 2 for families or couples playing together. Every chapter of this game introduces a brand new mechanic that neither player has seen before, from controlling a pair of socks to managing a miniature whittling knife, ensuring the experience never becomes repetitive across its full 10 to 14-hour campaign. The Friend Pass system allows 2 players to share 1 copy of the game, which significantly reduces the cost of entry for families. The story follows a couple working through their relationship while trapped as dolls, handled in a way that is consistently whimsical and appropriate for older children playing alongside an adult. Stardew Valley earns the 16th spot as the most enduringly popular and content-rich farming simulation available on the Switch 2. The game drops players into a rural valley with a farm to develop at their own pace across seasons, with no fail state, no time limit, and no punishment for playing slowly or casually. The multiplayer mode supports up to 4 players building and managing a shared farm together, which makes this an ideal choice for families who want a long-term shared project rather than a session-based experience. The volume of content available through farming, fishing, mining, and community relationships easily sustains hundreds of hours of play without ever feeling repetitive. Moving Out 2 comes in at number 17 as the most immediately funny and accessible co-op game on this list for families with very young players. The physics-driven moving simulator tasks 2 players with clearing furniture from increasingly absurd locations, and the gap between efficiently completing a job and completely falling apart in laughter tends to be extremely small. Couches launch through windows, items roll downstairs uncontrollably, and the 2 players involved will spend more time reacting to the chaos than executing any coherent plan. The controls are simple enough for young children to understand within minutes, and the tone is consistently silly and welcoming from the very first stage to the last. Minecraft at number 18 is the most universally recognized and endlessly replayable sandbox game ever made, and its Switch 2 version delivers a smooth and visually expanded experience over previous console versions. Creative Mode removes all survival pressure and gives children unlimited resources to build anything they can imagine, while Survival Mode teaches resource management and planning through exploration and crafting systems that reward patient and methodical players. The cross-play support means families can connect with friends across multiple platforms, and the catalog of community-built worlds extends the content available far beyond the base game. For families with children of any age, this remains one of the safest and most rewarding purchases available. LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga lands at 19 as the most content-rich family game on the Switch 2. All 9 mainline Star Wars films are covered across an open-world structure with hundreds of playable characters, collectibles, and side missions spread across multiple planets. The drop-in co-op system allows a family member to join or leave a session at any point without disrupting progress, and the tone throughout is consistently light and humorous in the way that only LEGO games can deliver. Both families deeply familiar with Star Wars lore and those who have never seen a film will find accessible and entertaining content from the very first level to the final completion screen. Sonic Racing CrossWorlds earns the 20th spot as the freshest and most inventive kart racer on the Switch 2 outside of Mario Kart World. The track designed incorporate dimension-hopping portals that shift the racing environment mid-lap, forcing players to adapt their lines and strategies continuously, rather than simply memorizing static circuits. The roster includes Sonic, Shadow, Knuckles, and over 20 additional characters, with more unlockable through extended play. The local split-screen mode runs well, and the cross-play support means younger players can race against friends on other platforms. It is colorful, fast, and consistently exciting for families who want a racing game to complement their Mario Kart sessions. Fall Guys at 21 is one of the most accessible and entertaining online party games available on the Switch 2 at no cost whatsoever. Dozens of players compete through a rotating selection of colorful obstacle course rounds, with the field narrowing after each elimination until one winner remains. The visual style is deliberately silly, and the stakes are low enough that losing never creates lasting frustration for younger players, still building their competitive tolerance. The seasonal content rotation keeps the game consistently fresh with new costumes, stages, and limited time events throughout the year, giving the whole family a reason to return on a regular basis, without any additional purchase required.
Unravel 2 comes in at 22 as the gentlest and most visually peaceful co-op platformer available for families on the Switch 2. Two yarn creatures linked by a thread must swing, pull, and navigate their way through environments that require genuine cooperation to traverse, creating a natural and intuitive co-op dynamic that works especially well for parent and child sessions. The adaptive difficulty system adjusts the challenge level based on how well both players are performing simultaneously, ensuring neither a young beginner nor a more experienced partner feels unchallenged or overwhelmed at any point. The watercolor-inspired art direction is beautiful, and the ambient musical score adds to the calm and welcoming atmosphere throughout the full campaign. Cuphead lands at 23 as the most visually distinctive and progressively challenging game on this list, best suited to families with older children who enjoy a genuine test of skill. The hand-drawn 1930s animation style is unlike anything else in gaming, and the boss rush structure takes two players through increasingly complex encounters that demand communication, coordination, and improvement across multiple attempts. Failing is frequent and expected, but the game is built entirely around the rhythm of dying, learning, and getting better together, rather than punishing players for mistakes beyond what is immediately recoverable. For families willing to commit to the challenge, the sense of shared accomplishment at the end of each chapter is exceptionally rewarding. MIO Memories in Orbit arrives at 24 as one of the most impressive and atmospheric indie experiences released on the Switch 2 in early 2026. This Metroidvania-style platformer sets its story aboard a spaceship where all human travelers have perished, leaving only robots navigating the interconnected environments of the vessel. The ability unlocking system expands traversal options, progressively through wall climbing, grappling, and gliding, and the risk mechanic introduced by environmental tremors that can permanently reduce health adds meaningful tension to exploration. Older children and parents who enjoy discovering how a world connects piece by piece will find this one of the most satisfying and well-paced platformers on the platform. Closing at number 25, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is the most atmospheric and technically accomplished single-player exclusive on the Switch 2, and a worthy conclusion to one of Nintendo's most beloved series. The first-person exploration structure takes players through a richly detailed alien world filled with environmental puzzles, upgradable abilities, and challenging boss encounters that reward patience and methodical play. The structure is more expansive than its predecessors, giving the world a grander scope while maintaining the tightly crafted sense of isolation and discovery that defines the series. For families with older children or teenagers who enjoy immersive and atmospheric adventures, this is one of the most rewarding experiences in the entire Switch 2 library.